What happens when you are an establishment journo over at the Washington Post? You're a columnist at the Washington Post, a media columnist, and you are asked a question about the Biden crime. What show, guys? What show is this on? I just want to give credit to it. I don't see it here in the. Let me know. We can play it, and I'll credit it when we come back. But this was on a different podcast. Play 4.
What do you take from the text message to his adult daughter? 100 text messages. I have to give 50% of my income to Pop.
I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means.
Well,
I know it's circumstantial evidence, and you prefer that.
No, what could it be?
I have no idea.
But doesn't it?
I don't know.
Well,
I appreciate your.
Has anybody asked her?
I don't know. I don't know.
Don't you think somebody should ask her?
Okay. Like I'm not. I just said I don't know, and I don't know what to make of it, so I have nothing to say about it.
Yeah,
what
but
do you want me to say?
Yeah, but you say there's no evidence. But then there's a text message where he says, "I give Pop 50% of my money." That's evidence.
Okay. Well, okay, fine.
So
it's evidence. I appreciate you having me on.
It doesn't. Something like that. Who do you think is being more? I listen to that and I'm saying,
Am I?
You can free to go.
I feel you want me to leave, like just walk out in the middle of this because that way you can
you can go.
Right.
Is this a standard? Really, this is the way the Washington Post handles people who disagree with them.
When I agree to be on for 45 minutes,
go,
and then
go.
I get on for an hour and 15. Yeah,
go,
that after a while I go.
Go.
Thanks for having
me. Okay, first of all. If you're good, don't wait for him to ask you a question you don't like him. You're like, oh, we're over time. I gotta go. But second of all, Clay, I have a crazy theory. When someone in a text message says that they have to give half their money to somebody, I would want to find out if they were giving half their money to somebody or some portion of their money to someone. In this case, Joe Biden.
I love this clip because I think it synthesizes the willful blindness and lies that so many people are using. And just imagine that this is 1972 or whatever it was, and that is Woodward or that is Bernstein there, and they are being questioned, and they say, hey, there's a decent amount of evidence that the president might have been involved in some way in helping to cover up a break-in at the Watergate. And the Washington Post reporter, Woodward or Bernstein, had said, I don't know, that's circumstantial. What do you want me to do? Actually investigate it? Yeah, that's what I would like for you to do. If you claim to be a journalist whose goal is to hold people in positions of power accountable and not be a propagandist whose goal is to protect people in positions of power, then yes, the bare minimum amount of questioning that you should do, I've said this, but I'm going to keep hammering it home, and I understand how frustrated so many of you are about this. This is what we talked about with Jim Jordan a little bit. The tide is moving in our direction, and it's because reasonable people are starting to ask the question, wait a minute. When Hunter Biden is sitting next to his dad, and he says to a Chinese Communist Party official, if I don't get millions of dollars, and I'm paraphrasing, basically there's going to be hell to pay. You don't want to cross the Bidens. When there are reports credibly offered that millions of dollars were paid by Burisma to the Biden family to try to avoid consequential punishment for their behavior in Ukraine, when, Buck, there is, as this question is asked, a suggestion from Hunter Biden that he has to give half of his money to Joe Biden, when Tony Bobulinski has testified that there was 10% reserved for the big guy, when there are tens of millions of dollars in payments that have been routed through secret bank accounts to, I believe, 9 different members of the Biden family from Chinese and Russian and Ukrainian enemies of the United States, you can say you may not believe that behavior by Joe Biden is criminal, not to mention 20 different phone calls made to Hunter Biden's business associates, a bevy of anonymous emails that were drafted by Joe Biden. You can say, I don't think that's criminal. What you cannot say, Buck, is, oh, there's no evidence that Joe Biden was involved in any of this, which is what they're still trying to argue.
Or just also throwing out there that it's circumstantial evidence. Like, most people are sent to prison based on circumstantial evidence. I know people,
yes.
There's usually not actually an eyewitness. This may come as a shock to some people at the Washington Post, but it's the if you're in a closing argument in a trial and your thing is all the evidence is circumstantial, I rest my case. Your client's going to prison. Like, that doesn't actually win the case for you.
And by the way, lots of circumstantial evidence combined is far more reliable than one eyewitness, because the data reflects that eyewitnesses get things wrong all the time because they misremember, because they don't recognize people as well as they should have. That's the data. Circumstantial evidence strung together is actually far more powerful. And I always use this analogy, but I think it's a good one.
Yeah.
You go to bed.
Sometimes my wife tells me to take out the trash, and what I hear is keep watching the U.S. Open. It's a really good match. That's what my brain tells me.
That's right. You're an eyewitness to something that may not have actually occurred. And by the way, let me just say this. Circumstantial evidence. This ends the argument once and for all that circumstantial evidence is always bad, but it's such a good one that many of us are taught in law school. You go to bed at night. It has not snowed. You close your blinds. You close your curtains. You go to bed. You wake up the next morning. There are 10 inches of snow on the ground outside of your home. You are not an eyewitness to snowfall. The fact that the snow fell from your perspective is circumstantial. You went to bed, it wasn't there. You woke up and it was there. Still pretty good evidence that the snow fell.